Recreating yourself is a familiar statement that indicates a better future and a better you, but how many people actually comprehend it? How far it goes, and how many people actually begin this trip that changes lives, are approaching the year 2025. Hence, it's necessary to have a thorough awakening. Here is a way on reinventing yourself in 2025, using the Stoic philosophy as well as those of other thought-provoking philosophers in this video. Imagine living a life in which the noise of society and the views of others have no bearing on you. This is the art of not caring. We'll start by talking about caring. It's not about being bored. Freedom from caring about what's happening in the world around you and being the center of your own universe. People are naturally cheerful. It's just waiting to be acknowledged. However, if you really don't give a damn about the outer world, instead, focus on the inner. This article discusses the art of selfishness. Get upset at the term selfish and consider whether you can truly love other people. Learn why self-love and selfishness are incompatible if you haven't loved yourself. The cornerstone of a happy life now that your sense of self has grown. Let's discuss one of the most profound human endeavors, discovering your own sense of direction in a chaotic world. Obtaining purpose can assist you in realizing that obtaining meaning isn't the main goal. About living a life that is so full that each breath represents who you are. The final leg of our journey is you, and Stoicism is an ancient but still relevant concept, extremely helpful to understand the definition of the happy life as given by the Stoics today by virtue of discernment, calmness and wisdom as opposed to material prosperity, a life in whereby, as you begin a new year, hardship transforms you instead of breaking you. Recall that exercising is really about changing who you are at your core, not about how you look, rediscovering your authentic self, uncovering the riches concealed within, and releasing that energy. The year 2024 is approaching, and it appears to be a fresh start for the planet. The true question isn't if you should change, but rather if you're ready to meet your best self. If so, don't be scared to take the leap. Together, let's embark on an adventure to get unparalleled growth, wisdom, and enlightenment. Have you ever worried about things you couldn't handle or felt like society was asking too much of you? Couldn't change, and if you answered yes, you're not alone. Many of us spend our entire lives stressing about issues that might not be as significant as we believe they are. But what if there was a method to obtain today? We're going to learn how to get out of this trapped state and find a way to live life with less stress and more peace of mind. Learn more about the philosophy of the art of not caring, which could lead to a happier, more contented life. This strategy is to focus our concern and attention where it is most needed, rather than dismissing or not caring about other individuals. This video will focus on the things we can control and let go of the rest. Transport you to a journey through the wisdom of many philosophies and the previous philosophers that have lived here. And gave us clues about this examination of many religions and their ideologies. Isn't only for education, it also incorporates the peaceful ideas of Buddhism, inspiring Stoic philosophy, the existential bravery of Surin, and the ideas of Theism that are life-affirming, and the Honic calculus of Epicurus. We will also discuss examples and applications from actual life that illustrate the individualistic nature of existentialism. These concepts, which have been applied by actual people, will be covered along with how worrying inappropriately can result to a life that is generally more fulfilled, happier, and free of fear. But how do we actually mean that? From a philosophical standpoint, not caring doesn't imply being wholly uninvolved or uncaring. Rather, it implies releasing ourselves from peer pressure, anxieties about the future, concerns about circumstances beyond our control, and worry about what other people will judge us, So it's best to concentrate on our actions, our reactions, and this is known as the art, where we feel, instead of fretting about things we can't control, of being indifferent, being aware of our boundaries, and deciding what needs our focus. All it takes is a lot of effort and passion to learn how to be accepting that you don't know what will happen and savoring the present. If you've ever felt like the weight of the world was on your shoulders, joy, you've come to the right spot. Have you ever wanted to let go of concerns that are preventing you from moving forward, or are you just curious to find out more about various philosophical perspectives on happiness? We hope that at completion of this journey, you will have a fresh knowledge of how to respond peacefully and calmly to life's ups and downs and an open mind. Join us as we teach you the skill of liberating yourself. Now is the perfect moment to embark on a philosophical journey to discover more about understanding who you are and how to let go in order to lead a more contented and joyful life. It's crucial to set the stage before we embark on this adventure by examining the close relationship between philosophy and happiness. How may philosophy aid in our definition and comprehension of philosophy is the study of knowledge and the love of what makes people happy. Wisdom. It examines fundamental issues regarding reality and information values. The primary justification for our discussion of happiness today, according to numerous philosophers from many eras and locations, have attempted to provide a solution to the query, what is happiness, and how it was transmitted from classical Greek philosophers to contemporary thoughts. Finding the means to happiness has always been the aim of philosophical inquiry. On the surface, happiness appears to be universal and simple, yet if you examine more closely, you see that it is quite personal and has a lot of facets. However, our happiness is mostly determined by our own experiences, society and expectations from others, yet as time goes on, the definition of happiness expands. It alters when we examine it from the perspective of philosophy as a whole rather than a specific viewpoint. Thus, how do various intellectual perspectives see happiness first? Let's discuss the Greeks and Aristotle, one of the greatest philosophers of all time. Believed that happiness was more than just a fleeting sensation or state of joy, leading him to develop the concept of eudaimonia, which is frequently translated as health or the good life. According to Aristotle, happiness included realizing one's potential, leading a life of integrity and knowledge, and changing the world for the better rather than pursuing pleasure. Epicurus, on the other hand, believed that it was about living fully within yourself. Epicurean philosophy on happiness stated that pursuing pleasure and avoiding suffering, but rejects self-centered excess. Epicurus to express the simple natural pleasures of life, such mental clarity, camaraderie, and intellectual. These thinkers, including John Stuart Mill and Jeremy Bentham, were utilitarians who lived in the age of utilities in the 17th and 18th centuries. Making as many people happy as possible is the definition of happiness according to Enlightenment. This concept served as the foundation for German philosopher Arthur Schopenhauer of their moral and ethical principles, who was born in the 1800s, held a less optimistic belief that life was filled with suffering and that contentment simply came from not having to endure suffering. According to Schopenhauer's philosophy, we must reduce our wants in order to feel reduced suffering and melancholy, which modifies our conception of happiness. Then there were the 20th century existentialists, such Jean-Paul Sartre, and Albert Camus believed that each person must find their own meaning in life because life has no inherent meaning. They disapproved of society norms and strived for authenticity and personal growth in order to discover their own pleasure and purpose. Independence, not to mention Eastern philosophical traditions like Buddhism, states that letting go of attachment and desire is the path to happiness, which, from these various philosophical vantage points, leads to inner peace and enlightenment, evident that not everyone may achieve happiness, despite what we may think. Our worldview and the choices we make are intricately linked to each other. Be content. People have diverse beliefs. Some pursue virtue, others pleasure. Others spiritual development or freedom. We'll examine how letting go of some concerns align with these many philosophical perspectives on happiness, while discussing the craft of finding a thoughtful and balanced approach to care about today's non-caring world is the aim. The things that are important to us and will make our lives joyful and fulfilling. It's crucial to keep in mind that philosophy just assists us in determining what questions to ask. Questions with an open mind as we gain more knowledge about how to be indifferent, what we believe to be true, and allow these many philosophical concepts to assist us comprehend what happiness is. Let's begin this exciting educational journey. From the profound insights into happiness that great philosophers have provided, let's now discuss Stoicism and ancient Greek philosophy, which have recently gained popularity once more, due with profound knowledge and practical guidance on leading a fulfilling life. Zeno of Citium began Stoicism in the early 3rd century BC in Athens, but it was the later Stoic thinkers like Marcus Aurelius and Epicurus Seneca whose thoughts have endured and continue to be relevant to us today. Reason and self-control virtue are crucial components of the ethical theory of Stoicism. Teaches us that, although we are powerless over our circumstances, we do have the ability to control how we respond to them. It's powerful for us to concentrate on what we can control and let go of what we can't. Method for developing indifference, which brings us to the Stoic concept of the two types of power. Epicurus, a learned man who was formerly a slave, wrote exquisitely about this. Notion in his handbook, or Enidan, he mentioned a few certain things are beyond our control, but others, in our perspective, are not motivation, want, aversion, or, to put it another way, all that we do comes from within our bodies, our properties, our reputation offices, and our reputation are not within our power. And to put it simply, this stark contrast instructs us to do whatever is not of our own doing. Concentrate our thoughts, feelings, and energies on the areas of our lives where we can. Acting as though we don't give a damn about the others doesn't mean we should be lethargic or neglect our responsibilities instead of realizing that we need to. What matters most and merits our consideration and attention is choosing not to become agitated by this keeps our minds at ease about things in life that we cannot alter. A fundamental Stoic principle is to connect oneself with the natural order of the world. Marcus provides an example of the ability to remain indifferent, exemplifying idea Stoicism. Marcus Aurelius, the powerful Roman emperor, had a lot of authority and impact, yet his works demonstrate that he understood these things are transient, as he stated that all that is necessary to have a happy life is very little. He frequently emphasized the importance of inner peace and tranquility over exterior tranquility within yourself, in your way of thinking. Achievements or recognition demonstrating the Stoic attitude of not caring about things we cannot alter. Throughout his works, Sebastiano, a significant Stoic writer, provides additional illustrations of the principle he instilled in us to not let misfortune control us, or too thrilled about victory and to remain unaffected by outside situations. He stated in a statement that the key to true happiness is to live in the moment. Without worrying about the future, to relax instead of entertaining our anxieties or hopes, content with what we have, which is plenty for the person who so desires. Thus, we learn not to worry about how our lives turn out by adhering to Stoic values. Are constantly evolving, thus we should instead concentrate on developing our character wisdom. Virtue we acquire is the ability to be content with what we have while disregarding what others individuals are content with the world, and don't give a damn about anything, in the Stoic sensibility, does not equate to indifference. Rather, it signifies understanding where to concentrate our efforts to live a joyful and tranquil life. We now move from the Stoic school of philosophy to Epicurus's garden, where the Greek, the ancient philosopher who founded the Epicureanism school of philosophy, had an alternative perspective on despite what many believe, Epicureanism is not about the art of not caring, savoring material pleasures or leading an opulent lifestyle. It's about leading a life of peace, liberty and camaraderie are more important than understanding the nature of pleasure, and Epicurus claimed that happiness is the greatest thing that exists and that the purpose of life. But he added that not all joys are worthwhile pursuing. He made a distinction between physical pleasures derived from satisfying a desire and catastatic pleasures that result from happiness in the absence of suffering, or Epicurus claimed that the ideal life is one in which we are able to maintain a catalytic condition of bliss and take pleasure in the simple things in life without constantly feeling driven by aspirations. Epicurean ISM asserts that a key component of the art of being indifferent is disregarding social norms and material desires. Epicurus favored a quiet lifestyle, apart from the hectic pace of Athens. He believed that many of our desires, such as those for wealth, fame or power, originate from Epicurus remarked, "What other people expect of us isn't normal or important, that since these desires never end, they frequently do more harm than good and leave us yearning for more." Epicurus once remarked that if you want to create a man, Epicurus's beliefs regarding fear, happy, do not add to his riches, take away from his desires. In particular, the fear of dying is also fascinating, he claimed, matter to us because without us, death doesn't exist, and without us, we don't exist. Epicurus claims that since death is an essential component of life, we shouldn't be terrified of it. In this way we can live in the now more joyfully and freely. So how do these suggestions make your lives better? We can attain inner peace and contentment by understanding the nature of our desires, distinguishing them from unimportant ones, and developing effective self-control. By deciding not to give a damn about what other people think or about our dread of dying, we relieve ourselves of anxieties and tensions that aren't required, creating space for genuine happiness and tranquility, as Epicurean ISM instructs us. That inner tranquility, free from suffering, is the true source of happiness, rather than possessions or significance, trouble. The philosophy instructs us to take pleasure in life's simple pleasures, such as the ability to think like a French ship and not bother about what other people want or fear. Also teaches us the Epicurean virtue of detachment from other people. Life advises us to reconsider our desires and morals in order to let rid of societal norms, eliminate needless worries, as well as to relish the simple, enduring things in life. Please allow us to carry these Epicurus ideals with us on our journey. Let's quit worrying about things that don't make us happy and instead appreciate the role that desire and pleasure play in our lives. Long-term happiness as we pursue our philosophical investigation into the practice of not. When we travel to Denmark in the 1800s, we encounter Søren Kagde, who is typically considered as the father of existentialist. In contrast to the other philosophers we have discussed thus far, Kagde was a product of a very distinct era and culture. Kagde's existential philosophy is all about the individual, their emotions, their autonomy, and their decisions. He believed that each person has a subjective perception of what is accurate, and that each person must learn how to live their own life independently. His works explore worry and provide us with a profound glimpse into the human mind. Despair, the quest for purpose, And the leap of faith in the face of life's one of CAD's most well-known concepts is using riddles and unknowns to find. To overcome sadness and find meaning in life, one needs to make a drastic change. Of faith into religion, even while the expression leap of faith appears frequently in religious situations, particularly in CAD's works, the concept behind it transcends religion. It's about accepting uncertainty and having the courage to make decisions in the dark, precisely how things will pan out, the daily anxiety and terror that we experience. Because we have no idea what the future holds, we worry about it and struggle to make decisions. When we are unable to predict the future, what if we choose to disregard it? This opportunity, what if we take that risk knowing that we have no idea what will occur, and we make choices with courage and conviction? As CAD stated, life can only be comprehended in retrospect, but it needs to be lived in the present. This quotation aligns with our discussion because it serves as a reminder that, although we are powerless to know or control, we can learn from our mistakes and become wiser as a result. What will occur in the future, thus choosing not to be concerned about potential future events, doesn't imply you're careless or indifferent to the outcome. Rather, it's about overcoming our paralyzing dread of the unknown, so that we can allow us to completely experience the present and act morally by relieving us of the burden of anxiety and fear. Kierkegaard's courageous step could bring us to greater contentment when we cease obsessing over potential outcomes and instead concentrate on the present moment and act in a way that aligns with our principles. We are liberated ourselves to live a life of integrity without living in continual fear of what might occur when we do. The psychological outlook of this Kierkegaard helps us consider our personal lives, our concerns, and our independence. His concept of taking a risk provides us with a method to manage with life's uncertainties by accepting them rather than trying to predict or control them. Embracing these unknowns with assurance and concentrating on our true selves, we ought to be courageous and focus more on living fully and truthfully in the moment, and less on the things in life that we cannot alter. Our intellectual journey begins in the bustling streets of Denmark in the 1800s. To historical India, the birthplace of Siddharagama, also referred to as the Buddha. Buddhism is a profound philosophy and a path to spiritual awakening. Non-theistic religion with a unique perspective on joy, suffering, separation, and Buddhism. How to let go of worries about things that are transient and will pass holds a different definition of happiness than many schools of thought in the West. Buddhism views true happiness as a profound understanding rather than as enjoyment or achieving your goals. Long-lasting satisfaction and well-being that result from inner serenity and wisdom. This enjoyment is accessible to everyone and is unaffected by external circumstances. By being conscious, acting honorably, and understanding how reality operates. The four. Buddhism places a great deal of importance on the noble truths, which define suffering, explain why it occurs, and provide solutions. And the Buddha taught that suffering originates from tanha as a means of doing that. This denotes a profound yearning for something more or different from what we currently have. Desire these things because we are unaware that reality is actually composed of things that are changeable, unhappiness, and not self-guide us to the non-attachment and detachment values of Buddhism, which are crucial for understanding how to be carefree from a Buddhist perspective. Buddhism holds that detachment does not entail avoiding or dismissing the events of life. Rather, it entails being fully aware of and accepting of the truth that everything changes, so you have to let go of people, things, occasions, and even concepts. As you are aware that they are mutable and that they are not dependent on objects, occasions, or concepts. Being detached entails not needing to cling to them constantly. Experience life to the fullest as it unfolds when we cultivate non-attachment, happiness, sadness, suffering and joy. Without being dictated by these transient feelings, we develop a genuine concern for life. Without being constrained by it, are not dismissing or undervaluing anything that alter or vanish when we don't. Rather than caring about them, we are discovering a deeper, more meaningful connection with them, feeling and taking pleasure in them while they're still there, but not being upset when they vanish. When you use this kind of thinking in your daily life, you can discover profound. Its inner tranquility and joy enable us to appreciate the beauty of the changing seasons without allowing yourself to be carried away by the whirlwind of want, hatred or fantasy. Only lose what you hold on to. As this straightforward yet insightful adage sum up the core of Buddhism's teachings on detachment and non-attachment, advise us to let go of and cease worrying excessively about are ephemeral and difficult to comprehend. By doing this, we distance ourselves from a Buddhist teaching's aim to alleviate a great deal of the suffering we inflict on ourselves and provide space for a more profound and enduring form of happiness, which delve deeply into the nature of reality, and the mind can teach you how to become indifferent. They can teach us how to live more calm, clarity and freedom, by understanding and putting to use the concepts of, as we proceed with our search, detachment and non-attachment allow us to recall the wisdom of the Buddha. Keep in mind that everything is subject to change and that we can achieve inner peace by letting go of fleeting things. And ultimately, isn't that what we all want, to be happy with where we are now? Returning to Europe, this time in the late 1800s, we encounter Friedrich Nietzsche, one of the most influential and contentious philosophers in history. Friedrich N. provided us with a compelling perspective on the practice of apathy. He was well known for his criticism of conventional values, and his affirmation of life. Nietzsche's philosophy is predicated on the concept of life encouragement, which he believed to be the noblest aspect of human nature, stated that to support life is to acknowledge it for what it is, flaws and all, and difficulties. It entails embracing life with a feeling of wonder and joy. Imagination, rather than in a helpless or surrendered way. It's simple to understand how this is consistent with nature's beliefs about social norms and the art of not caring. Philosophy of life affirmation. Nature believed that social norms and conventional standards frequently prevent people from living completely and truthfully. He disliked the concept of collective morality, which holds that it is believed that morality is universal and that disregarding societal, following the law and upholding moral standards wasn't the same as being uncaring or callous. He believed that it had to do with self-overcoming or moving past conditioned tendencies and convictions to discover your personal values. When we don't give a damn about what other people think of us, we can begin to challenge, critique, and ultimately discard these notions. Enables us to create our own moral code and determine what is significant, practical and fulfilling, which is where the concept of the Übermensch, also referred to as when the idea of Overman or Superman appears. It represents Nietzsche's ideal persona, someone who has overcome oneself, discovered their morals, and come to terms with life. In the Übermensch is the concept that you don't have to worry about conventional. Rather, instead, you ought to embrace life's turbulence and confusion and create your own morals, as Zarathustra says in Thus Spoke. I instruct you that the Overman man is something that can be conquered, done to defeat him. These forceful remarks serve as a call to action and provoke thought. Ask questions, challenge what they say to help us get through difficult situations, and in our attempt to understand how to not care what others think, become the persons we really are. Nichols' philosophy has value in that it prompts us to consider our interactions with society, rules and conventional morals. Thus, it instructs us to keep these outside, Standards restrict who we are. Instead, we should establish and adopt our own ideals. Life as it is, let's continue to remember the powerful lessons found in nature. Therefore, let's focus on overcoming ourselves, have the courage to set our own standards, and come to terms with life. Currently, we have extensively explored the theoretical realms of not compassionate as we've explored the intricate structure of philosophy, starting with Stoicism, this intellectual knowledge, into Buddhism, Satras, Karmas, etc. Practice today to see how these academic lessons might benefit us in day-to-day the actual world. What actions may we take? First, we must sort the items in your life according to the Stoic concept of the two types of control to determine what matters most to us. It's important to separate the things you can manage from the things you can't. This includes our learn to let go of the things we can't control using your thoughts, feelings and actions. By taking this small step, you'll feel a lot less stressed and worried, which will provide more space for joy, freedom, and... The second topic we'd like to discuss is accepting uncertainty in life. Full of uncertainties, as Cagd taught us, and attempting to predict or control every situation is not only meaningless, but it may also result in contentment that we may discard. The anxiety and dread associated with not knowing, by accepting ambiguity and taking that leap of faith, allows us to see that uncertainty presents an opportunity for development and transformation, in that the third phase requires you to confront societal norms, as Epicurus said, and existentialism holds that it might be difficult to be happy and true to ourselves when societal norms and expectations are in place. Do the difficulties in your personal life align with your ideals and aspirations, or do they make you feel as though you are unable to be who you are? Being concerned about these social norms does not imply neglecting your responsibilities or being unconcerned about anything. It's about regaining your autonomy to select your own route and establish your own standards and develop your own persona. The fourth phase advises us to acknowledge that life is foolish by using cues to identify the underlying folly and accept it. Knowledge, rather than seeking significance or validation from others, concentrates on creating your own meaning, which may be achieved through your work, relationships, hobbies, or own growth. Discover happiness in the path you go in your fan struggle. Our path can be. These procedures can be helpful, but implementing them requires patience and isn't always simple. Bravery and self-compassion to embark on this quest, seeking once-in-a-lifetime experiences. Uncertainty, worry, or miscommunication could arise. Remember that it's acceptable to feeling. These things is common for people. You shouldn't oppose them. You ought to acknowledge them, take advice from them, and follow their lead so that you could consider what you can do today to put these concepts into practice. Mindfulness can support you. On this path, being aware requires paying close attention and being really present. Focusing on the here and now without passing judgment on it allows us to observe our emotions, recognize ideas and feelings for what they are without becoming enmeshed in them. Spend a few minutes each day sitting in silence as a basic form of relaxation. Return your attention to your breathing by observing how it feels as air enters and exits your body. You can cultivate a sense of acceptance of the current moment, even if it strays slowly. Through this practice, you can develop non-attachment, which is a crucial skill for, as you practice being indifferent, keep in mind that it's not the same as being indifferent, considering or disregarding. It's about determining and accepting what matters most. Despite all the uncertainty and foolishness in life, discovering your own spirit. We need to be brave and kind to ourselves, regardless of what other people think you should be doing, and prepared to embrace everything that it means to be human while traveling, rather than focusing on the destination. Now that they have seen the artwork of indifference is past, let's pause to reflect and perhaps set the scene. Next video coming soon. Please don't forget to like, share and subscribe to our channel. Your